We've got another exciting edition of Locked On Blue Devils coming up for you here today. We've been having a lot of fun with the fill-in-the-blank questions. More statements. Today we've got 6 of them regarding Duke men's basketball, and I called on my very good buddy Jason Evans from the Duke Basketball Report to help me answer these questions. It's going to be a whole lot of fun, and the newest edition of Locked On Blue Devils starts right now.
Dick Vitale, hey, make sure you listen, man, to Locked On Blue Devils with JJ Jackson. He's awesome, baby.
You are Locked On Blue Devils, your daily podcast on the Duke Blue Devils, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody, and welcome into another edition of the Locked On Blue Devils podcast. My name is JJ Jackson, proudly serving as your host for the program. If you haven't done so already, please follow us on Twitter at @LO_Blue Devils. Follow me on Twitter at _JJ_Jackson_. And most importantly, make sure you're following and subscribing to the podcast for free wherever you get them. Leave your 5-star ratings and reviews. It means the world when you take time out of your schedule to do that for us. We're on YouTube as well, so subscribe on YouTube to the podcast to catch up with all the latest updates. Watch it each and every day. Share it with your friends, all that great jazz. It means the world when you do that. On today's show, I've got another exciting fill-in-the-blanks episode of Locked On Blue Devils, and I've brought on my good pal, Jason Evans of the Duke Basketball Report. It's the month of August. Football season at this point is less than 3 weeks away, but still plenty of great time to talk Duke men's basketball. Jason, how you doing?
I'm doing well, man. Yeah, it's getting to be the summer doldrums are starting to wear off. You know,
Yeah.
we're getting to where Duke sports are firing up again, and that's always exciting.
A lot of excitement for football season. Year 1 of Coach Elko taking over the program, and also year 1 of Jon Scheyer taking over a program. The life of Duke athletics, a lot of change, which is really exciting and energizing.
Yeah. I mean. It has been 40 years since we had a new basketball coach.
Right.
And frankly, it's been more than a decade since we had a new football coach. To get both at the same time and for both of them to feel like, real departures from what we previously had. It is an incredibly exciting time to be a Duke fan. It's a time of as much uncertainty, I think, as we've ever had in the program. I mean, every time we see Jon Scheyer go out and recruit a new player, make a new offer, any of that stuff, we don't know how Sheyer's going to use all these different players. And to me, that's sort of the most fascinating part of all of this stuff. As I look at the team, is he going to be like Coach K, play 6.5, maybe 7 players?
Right.
Is he going to be closer to Leonard Hamilton, play like 10, maybe even 11 guys? I don't know. And Mike Elko, coming from an SEC program, I just think we're going to get something different from what we've seen the past few years from Coach Cutcliffe. God love him, did an amazing job. But I'm really excited about. And by the way, I think the stuff with Elko, people need to remember, it takes longer in football than it does in basketball.
Oh yeah.
In basketball, look at Arkansas. Arkansas is a top 10 team. They have like 11 new players on their team. There's like one guy. It's like one guy back from last year. And you can go, oh, yeah, but they're going to be really good. In football, it doesn't work that way. It takes like 2 or 3 years to have any idea what Elko is going to really do.
Got to be able to bulk up the line on both sides of the ball. And, yeah, you've just got a lot that needs to be put in place for any athletic department. Football and men's basketball are going to win the revenue shares for your budgeting. And so you've got to make sure that those programs are off and running. Duke's going to be fine on the men's basketball side of things. It seems like they're starting to sell a lot of season tickets for Duke football for the upcoming year, which is incredibly exciting. All right, let's talk basketball. Fill in the blanks with my buddy Jason Evans. I've got some statements. You just fill in the blanks. Pretty simple, Jason. You ready for this?
I'm ready. Hit me with them, man.
All right, here we go. I want to talk and start here. The most underrated Duke basketball player of the last decade is blank.
So do I just fill in the blank, or do I also talk about it, right?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, you can defend your pick. Yes,
I think the answer to that fill in the blank is Justice Winslow, and the reason for that answer is this: I'm not saying that Justice is like, the most valuable or most important guy over the past decade, because we had Zion Williamson,
Right.
we had RJ Barrett. I mean, I can go on and on. We had Marvin Bagley. We had guys who had just Paulo Banchero. We had
Right.
incredible players over the past decade. The reason I picked Justice Winslow is specifically because you mentioned that underrated. I think that he gets forgotten about a little bit on that national championship team. That team really was built around the incredible post prowess of Jahlil Okafor. And then, especially in the Final Four, we had Tyus Jones playing absolutely incredible basketball. We had guys like Emile Jefferson, who were experienced, Matt Jones, experienced players who played multiple years who were on that team. And then because Justice's pro career has been so marred by injuries, and it's really a pity because I thought, especially when he was in Miami, he was blossoming into something pretty special he was essentially playing point guard for a little while.
Yeah.
Point forward at his size, if he had maintained his health, I think would have been something that the NBA would have been talking about and people would have been really intrigued with. I'm not comparing him to LeBron James, but not entirely dissimilar kind of attributes and abilities. So for those reasons, I feel like Justice is overlooked. And if you go back and look at that season, he averaged better than 12 points per game, really good rebounder, had a decent number of assists. The thing people forget, he hit almost 42% of his three-pointers. Go back over the past decade, find me another guy who shot a bunch of threes and hit better than 41, 42% of their three-pointers. They are few and far between, I'm telling you. Like Luke Kennard's sophomore year, which, by the way, was in consideration for most overlooked, most underrated. Luke Kennard's sophomore year, he was pretty amazing. But I went with Justice Winslow. And again, I think that they're just a variety. The guys he played with overshadowed him. And then his NBA career, he hasn't gotten all the credit he should. Key, huge reason why that team won a national title.
Jason, I think that's the right pick. And I think the 3-point shooting is a good example of we haven't seen that at the next level. Yes, he's been injured, but you also haven't really seen that 3-point shot for Justice that year. And then you mentioned that 2015 team. You've mentioned Jahlil Okafor, Tyus Jones. You'll even talk about Quinn Cook and the senior leadership oftentimes before Justice Winslow comes up. I'm thinking about big games in the tournament that Justice had. The Utah game comes to mind with the energy and excitement that he was playing in the Sweet 16 Elite 8 rounds for Duke on their way to that national championship game. But I like the pick. Shout out to Justice Winslow here today. All right, let's.
Hey, wait, really quick. Let me push back on something. The 3-point shooting in the NBA. I just looked really quick. His last 2 seasons in Miami before he got badly hurt, he hit 38 and 37.5. He was like right around 38% on his threes.
Totally fair.
Again, the injuries changed this guy. If we're talking about a 6'7", 230 point forward who can play the kind of defense he can play and hits 38% of his threes, dude would be an all-star.
Yeah.
And it's just such a pity that he's been robbed of all that.
The injuries absolutely factor into that. Yeah. Thanks for correcting.
Right, go on.
Right, here we go.
Item.
The most valuable assistant coach of the Coach K era was blank.
Boy, I really thought about this one. And
this is a fun one. There are a lot to choose from.
It's a fun one. It's a tough one.
You got 42 years.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to go with Tommy Amaker.
Okay.
And I was really torn between Tommy Amaker and Johnny Dawkins. And the reason is this. The Duke program sort of went to next level, I think, after Coach K's back injury, when the team begins to ascend to become an unbelievable recruiting power. I know that in the late 80s, when I was there, and early 90s, that's the Final Four run that creates this unbelievable legacy and reputation for Coach K and for Duke. But I feel like if you look at those teams, Duke wasn't bringing in a lot of top-ranked recruiting classes. They did great in the tournament, but I feel like it was, if you look at the 98 and 99 teams, neither which won a title. I mean, we're talking about some teams that had ridiculous absurd talent, ran through the ACC like it
doubt.
was nothing, hot knife through butter. And to me, not that that's more impressive than winning a national title, because national titles are really important, but it's pretty darn impressive. And I feel like Tommy Amaker was the guy who helped, especially on the recruiting front, lift the program from where it was, which is great, but to where it went, which is truly incredible. So that's why I go with Tommy Amaker. I almost wish he'd stayed a couple more years. If I could have, if he'd extend, like he left, I want to say in 98, leading up to the 99 season. If he'd stayed a couple more years, if he stays through 2001 and gets that national title in 2001, then I think it's a no-brainer. But I'm going to go with Tommy Amaker. I really think that he was a lot of the force behind that great recruiting.
I love it. I think there's an argument to be had for somebody like Jon Scheyer in a way, because talking of valuable assistant coaches, now you found yourself in a position to be the head coach of the program, to take over for Mike Krzyzewski in this one and done era. Jeff Capel, Jon Scheyer leading the charge for the recruiting that Duke's been able to have successfully. Talk to me about that line of thinking, the more recent assistant coaches.
Yeah, I mean, recency bias. It's very easy. It's very easy to say that those guys, and I'll tell you that even though Scheyer is the current guy who took over, if you asked me to pick between those two, I would take Capel, because I think Capel was the guy who pushed us next level in recruiting, in the past decade and a half, when Coach K decided to challenge John Calipari for the one and dones. And suddenly Coach K was getting them, and Calipari was going to his second choice in most cases. So, in terms of where the team is today, I would agree with you, Capel and Scheyer. But I feel like building that platform, getting the program to where it is, is to me a more important part of the legacy of Duke basketball. And I feel like Amaker, and like I said, in Dawkins, I was torn between those two. To me, those guys are the guys who built the foundation, and these other guys built upon that foundation. So, but look, no argument. If you want to say it's Jon Scheyer or Jeff Capel, I'm not going to argue with you.
Because that's the thing, we've only said 4 names in this discussion, Jason, and there are millions, it feels like, that we could have chosen from. 42 years worth of assistant coaches.
I'll tell you another guy I strongly considered Quinn Snyder.
Okay.
And Quinn Snyder, I know some people who know some things about that 90s era of Duke basketball. And Quinn Snyder pushed Coach K forward in terms of technology, in terms of analytics, in terms of, looking at the game and looking at players in a slightly different way. I don't know if Coach K would have gotten there necessarily without Quinn, but I know that Quinn was a guy who recognized the value of spreading the court and of shooting 3-pointers at a time when it wasn't as fashionable as it has become. And that's another one that I could easily make an argument for.
That was the most valuable assistant coach of the Coach K era, was blank. If you have an opinion on the matter, why don't you leave us a comment in the YouTube section below? And I think there are several other names that we could have brought up.
No wrong answers.
No wrong answers. We love everybody. We love everybody. All right, let's take our first time out of today's program, and our show continues here in just a moment on Locked On Blue Devils. Locked On Blue Devils here today is brought to you by LinkedIn. Create a free job post in minutes on LinkedIn Jobs to reach your network and beyond to the world's largest professional network of over 810 million people. Then add your job in the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring, so your network can help you find the right people to hire. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Did you know every week nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn? Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right, moving forward here on today's edition of Locked On Blue Devils, JJ Jackson alongside my buddy Jason Evans from the Duke Basketball Report podcast. All right, here's a fun one. Let's talk NBA here. The next former Duke player that hasn't won an NBA title to win one will be blank.
Quinn Cook on Sacramento. I love you, Quinn. No, it's going to either be Grayson Allen in Milwaukee or Jason Tatum in Boston. I would probably lean toward Grayson Allen. I think that as great a season as the Celtics had this past year, and as great as Jason Tatum was, I think that if they're fully healthy, Chris Middleton is playing for Milwaukee, I think the Bucks are probably making the final, not the Celtics. Grayson Allen is a key player for Milwaukee. He's signed with them for a couple more years. They seem to very much like his three-point shooting on the wing, and his tenacity and defense, and the other sort of things he brings as a complementary player to them. He's admittedly their fifth most important starter, but he is a starter for a team that I think has to be one of the 3 or 4 top picks to win the national title, to win the NBA title next year. But if you tell me it's Jason Tatum, I'm not even remotely surprised, especially if they're able to pull off the trade for Kevin Durant. Lots of talk that the Nets are asking for Tatum and Brown for Durant, which is a joke. It's laughable. There's no chance they could ask for Durant for Tatum straight up. And I'm not saying Tatum's better than Durant, but at this point in his career, at 24, 25 years old, and Kevin Durant,
decade younger, yeah,
Kevin Durant, 34 years old, there's no question which one you take. I think the Celtics recognize that as long as they continue to build on Jason Tatum, that they will be a NBA title contender for the next decade, for 10 years. So, but and I think that if Durant gets traded, I think that it probably is to the Celtics, and it probably is for Jaylen Brown plus some picks and some other pieces. And the notion of Durant and Tatum. Whew. So it could easily be Jason Tatum, but I'm going with Grayson Allen just because I love Giannis.
Yeah, I think Giannis is going to be bouncing back next year in a big way, and Milwaukee is a fun pick. Grayson, obviously, not a part of their championship team 2 seasons ago, and it feels like we're going to the Eastern Conference here in this because the West is just so loaded, and you look at guys over the years that have won championships in the West. Of course, Quinn Cook did get a ring with the Warriors. He did get his ring with the Los Angeles Lakers. Why not go get one with Sacramento? Shout out to Quinn Cook for getting his new deal there. But I mean, look, maybe the Clippers bounce back once they've got Kawhi Leonard and Paul George together. John Wall's in the mix, and then Luke Kennard is out there at guard for them. I too thought Grayson Allen and Jason Tatum first, and I too was actually leaning Giannis comeback tour over the Boston Celtics. But then I wanted the thought exercise of, well, who would it be out of the West? And it felt like the first one that came to mind would be Kennard on the Clippers.
Yeah, I think probably so. And look, we shouldn't preclude the possibility that, someone gets traded to state.
Yeah, that could change everything.
Yeah, it's sort of ironic sometimes that the perhaps less accomplished NBA guys are the ones who get rings, from your program, and some of the more accomplished guys don't quite get there, but. Hey, I'd love, I'm from Atlanta. I'd love for the answer to be Jalen Johnson and AJ Griffin. Yeah. My Hawks got better in the offseason.
They did. They did. And you got a couple of Duke guys on the squad too. That's fun. All right. Jon Scheyer will win the ACC in his first season if blank.
There are a lot of fill in the blanks on this one.
Yeah.
There are a lot of possibilities. I'm going to go with this one. If the team hits as a team better than 36% from 3, and more specifically, if Jeremy Roach, Dariq Whitehead, and Kyle Filipowski, who I think, I'm not as sure about Filipowski, but I think those 3, along with Jacob Grandison, are probably the guys who are going to shoot the most 3-pointers. But if those 3 guys are able to get it to about 35% or so from 3-point range, then I think this Duke team's going to be in very, very good shape. It's hard to keep up with a team that can shoot threes.
Yeah.
And look, Duke could roll out It's not inconceivable that Duke could roll out a squad at times during the season where we've got 5 guys who can hit 3-pointers on you, because Derek Lively can hit them. Kyle Filipowski could play some 5 and hit threes. He could do Dariq Whitehead probably is mostly playing small forward, but he could slip down to power forward. If you're playing a team that wasn't huge, it wouldn't be insane for Duke to have a lineup out there of Jeremy Roach, Tyrese Proctor, or Jacob Grandison. Actually, Tyrese Proctor and Jacob Grandison, or Jaden Shoot,
Right.
to go with, like I said, Filipowski at the 5 and Dariq Whitehead at the 4. I mean, Whitehead has the size. It's not impossible to imagine if you're playing a team that was guard heavy. And then you've got 5 guys who can all shoot 3-pointers. So I think Duke needs to take the right shots. I'm a big believer in the shot chart and taking high efficiency shots in the lane or at the 3-point line. And I need to see, and I worry the most, I think, about Dariq Whitehead and Jeremy Roach, getting them above 35, getting them to 36%. It's just going to be really, really hard for teams to keep up with Duke if that happens.
I agree. I mean, we think about all the great Duke teams over the years, the ones that shoot the 3 ball the best tend to be the most dangerous. And this Duke team is going to have a lot of shooters on the floor. Scheyer winning the ACC in his first season. What about on the defensive end of the floor, Jason? What does that look like? Like, if there were an if here defensively, does anything stand out to you for this team?
I mean, it's hard because defensive stats to me, at least in terms of the counting stats, don't mean a ton. I mean,
Sure.
yeah, obviously block shots and steals are great, of course. But as a team, I don't know that you go, oh, the team that blocks the most shots, that's the best defensive team. The team that gets the most steals, that's the best defensive team. I'm not sure that necessarily translates. I do think with a young team, it can be tough, and especially if they're learning man-to-man. And look, we talked at the beginning of the show about the fact that we don't know what we're going to get from Jon Scheyer. We don't know if we're going to get a team that plays exclusively man-to-man, almost exclusively man-to-man, the way Coach K has in recent years, or if we're going to get a team that is a little more willing to mix it up on defense. I've said for a while, I'm very excited about the potential of our freshmen on defense. I mean, Derek Lively, I love Mark Williams. Mark Williams, incredible defender, ACC Defensive Player of the Year. Derek Lively is going to be in the running for ACC Defensive Player of the Year, and he's going to be able to do things defensively that Mark Williams could not, because Derek Lively has more foot speed. And if if there's a pick and roll situation, a pick and switch situation, and Lively finds himself on an opposing guard, when that happened to Mark Williams, that was a problem for Duke.
Yeah.
That will not be a problem for Derek Lively, which is why the NBA is going to make him a top 10 draft pick. So he's really exciting. And people forget about Dariq Whitehead. Scotty Barnes, Cade Cunningham, some of the best college players who are now in the pros of the past several years, they all played against Dariq Whitehead in high school. When he was coming up through the high school ranks, his teammates were guys like Cade Cunningham and Scotty Barnes. And those guys, Cade Cunningham has said, the best defender I faced at the high school level was the guy I faced every day in practice in Dariq Whitehead. I think Dariq Whitehead is going to be a really elite defender for Duke this year. So these young guys, and then you mix in a guy like Jacob Grandison, who's an experienced defender, Jeremy Roach in his 3rd year in the Duke program. I think this team has potential to be able to play really good defense. And I'm going to be really intrigued at seeing whether, Coach K, we've got a super deep team. And I remember over the years, we'd have deep teams and I'd go, hey, this is the year Coach K is going to go full court press. This is the year we're going to, try and just speed teams up and just run them into the ground, because we've got 10, we got 10 guys. And then Coach K would play 6.5. Right. Maybe Jon Scheyer will be different. I would be very excited. Yeah. I'd be really excited to see this Duke team try and turn up the pressure. And actually, the way I think you would do it, and we're getting so far afield here, sorry. The way I think you would do it is you would sort of have a version of the team that is, we're pressing you 94 feet and we're just running. And then you'd have a version of the team, and this would be the version with Ryan Young at center, because I don't think Ryan Young can do that up and down. But when Ryan Young comes in the game, you go, okay, let's slow it down a little bit. Let's play maybe a little bit of zone or something. But if you got Lively, if you had like Lively, Mitchell, Grandison, Proctor, Whitehead, Roach, out
They'd
there.
be out there running. Yeah.
That team's out there. Let's just go.
That's
Up and down,
perfect.
up and down.
That's perfect. Man, I can't wait for this upcoming basketball season. Our buddy Jason Evans, he's on Twitter at Jason Duke Evans, and he is filling in the blanks with us on today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils. Let's take our final time out of today's show and give me the opportunity to tell you about our buddies over at BetOnline. BetOnline.net is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your betting needs. Find all of your favorite sports and events at the #1 online source for odds, lines, and games. Find reviews and news of every league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all your sports wagering information. From live in-game betting, scores, and podcasts, they have you covered. Head to BetOnline today or use your mobile device to learn more about the action happening today. BetOnline, where the game starts. Welcome back into Locked On Blue Devils here. Jason Evans alongside myself for today's edition of Locked On Blue Devils. We're filling in the blanks as we move forward here. Our next one up, blank was the best in-game dunker for Duke pre-Zion. Zion's just otherworldly.
Sure.
And what if we said word? Like, let's give multiple people some shout outs if we want to, Jason. Who comes to mind?
Well, the best dunk pre-Zion and maybe the best dunk including Zion is what Dante Jones did to Virginia. The push-up dunk. I mean,
Yes.
Unreal, absolutely incredible. If there's anyone out there who has not seen that, please go, just YouTube, search for Dante Jones push-up dunk. It is. I saw it live, not live like in the stadium, like I was watching the game. Nothing like it. Absolutely nothing like it. But I think the individual that I'm going to pick is Gerald Henderson, who, by the way, if you'd said most underrated Dookie, and you'd taken me back more than a decade, if I could gone back 15 plus years, it would have been Gerald Henderson.
Sure.
He would. Dude could fly. That's as simple as it is. And so he's my pick for the best in-game dunker other than Zion Williamson.
Gerald is who I was going with, too. I think of all the big dunks he had, there was one against Maryland in particular where he stomps the floor a little bit after the fact.
I love that one.
Carries on the effects. That was just unbelievable. G could absolutely get up there and fly. Some of the bigs for Duke over the years were pretty nasty.
Mason Plumlee is an underrated dunker. Yeah,
very much so. The Plumlee brothers, some of their just simple reverse dunks that they could do so smoothly and in transition, top notch.
Mason had eyes in the back of his head. I don't know how he would get the ball sometimes and just go up and reverse dunk it, and you'd be like, I don't know how he
did you
knew
do that?
The rim was there, but he did. Yeah,
right. Yeah, no, that's exactly what I was trying to describe. It's just like, how did you do that? How did you pull it off? So shout out to Mason Plumlee for that. We said pre-Zion, but I do also want to give some love post-Zion and Cassius Stanley's ability to fly in the air. Oh my, like, whew! I wish we had more years of getting to watch him dunk for Duke.
Speaking of seeing it live, I was at the Georgia Tech game. In the game that Duke played at Georgia Tech, he had two of those dunks where Trey Jones tossed the ball in the air, and I went, Is he passing it to the seventh row? No one's getting that ball. Where is it going? And suddenly, Cassius is like vertical to the ground. Perpendicular, whatever. Know what I'm saying?
Right.
It
Unbelievable
was
stuff from Cassius.
Yeah. Now that I know I said Gerald, but actually you said pre-Zion, so I get out of it. Cassius was special.
He was special. Cassius was unbelievable. That's why he didn't come to mind, because I had said pre-Zion, and that's totally fair.
Thanks for covering for me, man.
I said while we were talking dunks, I need to give Cassius Stanley some love there. All right, how about this? We started underrated. Let's end underrated with our filling in the blanks. Blank will be the most underrated player for Duke in 2022-2023.
Okay, so you have to clarify this one for me. Do you mean like right now or like when we look back on the season?
That's a fair question to ask. What if we said right now?
Right now, I'm going to say Tyrese Proctor.
Does the answer change?
Well, I think the answer. I
Could
think
change.
the answer will
Obviously,
change
you have
over the
the
course of the
evidence
season.
to look at. Yeah.
I think the answer will change, and I can explain. Right now, I'm going to say Tyrese Proctor. I think I think when you look at what he did this summer, playing with the Australian senior national team, and I want to be clear, he was playing with guys who are longtime established professional basketball players, some of whom played in the NBA. But these are, 24, 26, 28, 30-year-old basketball players playing in the Asia Cup, which is a serious international competition. And he was like Australia's leading scorer in several games. He was routinely putting up double figures as an 18-year-old. That's crazy. And by the way, as soon as the Asia Cup ended and he went back to his NBL, which is the professional league in Australia, which, and again, the Australian Professional League is a very good league. We have seen a number of very good NBA pros come directly out of that league. I'm not sure how you would necessarily equate it to a college basketball league, but it's better than a mid-major.
Right.
These are playing against men. His first game back, he had 20 points. I think it was 6 rebounds and 5 assists. I think people are sleeping on Tyrese Proctor. He hasn't arrived in Durham yet. So, and one of the things that I said the other day on my podcast, we were talking about surprising things coming up in the Duke season. Everyone says, "Oh, Tyrese Proctor is going to be the starting shooting guard by January or so." He'll work his way past Jacob Grandison at that point. I think Tyrese Proctor may be the starting shooting guard on day one. I think he's going to be that prepared. And I think that people just aren't thinking about him that much at this moment. So that's why I think he's my current underrated. He's not going to be my underrated at the end of the year because I think he's going to play so well.
We're going to see all the hype. Absolutely.
He won't be underrated anymore.
Yeah. So let's stick to right now then. I like that. Tyrese Proctor, absolutely.
Yeah.
Last week, if you missed it on Locked On Blue Devils, able to catch up with Kane Pittman, who is the ESPN basketball reporter for Australia, also doubles as one of our hosts for the Locked On Bucks podcast. And he was absolutely raving about what Tyrese Proctor is able to do there and his transition here to the States. Gave some love to Jack White as well, who's worked his way from that league to a deal with the Denver Nuggets this upcoming season. So Proctor's absolutely a guy that stands out.
And we interviewed Jack White on our podcast on the Duke Basketball Report about a week ago. And Jack White was saying how much Duke fans are going to love Tyrese Proctor. Everyone who's really gotten to see this guy play, they're like, "Yo, he is it.
Sure.
He is for real." And I actually think I feel sorry for Jalen Blakes because I think it is very possible we're going to see Tyrese Proctor get minutes at point guard, backing up Jeremy Roach, and perhaps even playing point guard alongside, and Jeremy Roach moving to a more off-ball role. I think that's possible. You'll see that some this season, but I really think I think Tyrese Proctor is just going to impress everybody the moment he arrives on campus, which hopefully will be soon.
Right. Underrated. I've been the conductor for the Jaden Shoot hype train. We're making our way through, making some noise. Just a top 50 recruit. We talk about it often. Any other program in America is going to be raving about this dude arriving on campus. And in a lot of ways, he's an afterthought for this team. But what a shooter this guy is. Crazy athletic, too. I'm excited to see what he's going to be able to contribute for Duke. I don't know how many minutes will be there right out of the gates for him, but, man, I'm fired up.
Yeah, and if you've watched the videotape we've gotten of the scrimmages, of the practices and such so far, the smoothness and the quickness of his release.
Haven't seen him miss.
Editing is a wonderful thing, but at the same time, no, the quickness of that release, I think that we're going to see him. It's tough to peg the minutes number. I think it's more than 10. It's less than probably 17 or 18. But I think that when he's in games, he is going to be a difference maker because teams cannot leave him alone. And if you're paying attention to him, that means that it's opening up the lane a little bit for guys like Whitehead and Roach and Filipowski, for that matter, to get in the lane, and Mark Mitchell. Look, I keep on
adding people
on and on. Right. I agree with you. I was going to say, if you ask me for the guy at the end of the season, it's either Jaden Shoot or Ryan Young. both of whom I think could average, in terms of points per minute, an eye-popping
Incredibly
kind of number.
efficient number. Yeah, no kidding. Well, we started talking underrated and we're ending with underrated. Something that is totally properly rated, and that rating is outstanding, is Jason Evans as a guest on this Locked On Blue Devils podcast.
You're kind. Thank you.
The time is greatly appreciated as always. Do me a favor, though. Plug the Duke Basketball Report podcast. You've shouted out a couple of episodes that you guys have had lately, and I know basketball season is right around the corner, so you and the crew have got some things in store.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have anything necessarily special coming down the pipe, other than just getting excited and covering the beginning of football season and especially the basketball team and the basketball season. We've been at this since the early days of 2015, before the team won the 2015 national title.
There you go.
So we've been around for a while. I'm not going to say that we were the first podcast to focus exclusively on Duke basketball. I think there were one or two others, but at the moment, I believe that we're the sort of longest lasting one. And Donald, Sam, and I have been around for a while and have had a great time and love our fans. And it's going to be a very exciting, interesting season.
Yeah.
You know, as I've been saying, perhaps the most uncertainty we've ever had in a season, and also one with that could end in some really, really, really special ways. By the way, can you hear my dog Cameron barking?
Shout out to Cameron.
Yeah, you can tell I'm a real Duke fan.
Exactly.
My dog's name is Cameron.
I love it. I love it. Jason, thanks for the time today. We'll do this again soon.
Thanks, JJ.
That's Jason Evans joining us on today's edition of Locked On Blue Devils, and that brings us to a close. Thanks so much for watching or listening to the show each and every day. If you're on YouTube, press that subscribe button. We're on our way to 500 subscribers, which is outstanding to sit here and think about while you're on YouTube. As soon as this is over, you can now type in Duke basketball dunking highlights. We've been talking about all the great dunkers over the years. Just go watch some highlights for yourself. That's going to do it for today's show. As always, go Duke. I'll talk to you tomorrow. My name is JJ Jackson. Thank you and good day.